How about now? Still?
It's okay. You just sound a little bit of a robotic voice there.
Hmm. Okay, well, I'm going to stick next to my computer so I can mint these things, and then I'll go somewhere with better service, I guess.
Cool. Man, I thought I was excited an hour ago, and now I'm just losing my mind over here. Additional anticipation was great.
Sorry for that for that extension last minute, but it worked out for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, okay, so what's going to be the plan? How do you want to to release these babies?
So what I was thinking, we just do a little intro, and then you can click the magic button, and then we could walk through each of the pieces. And we also have Nifty 50 on the call, who's one of the core team members and is our resident Squiggle expert. So if there's any unique traits, low color spread or full spectrum or anything like that, he can highlight that. And yeah,
Sweet. We have a lot to live up to after the last one. I don't know. It's a lot.
yeah.
Also, the last mint of Squiggles came out with a bunch of pretty rare ones too. So hopefully we haven't completely consumed the rest of the good ones, and there's some of the special ones come out this time.
Yeah, there was like 4 fuzzies in the last 10, which was really interesting, including a hyper fuzzy.
Yep,
So that would be pretty awesome.
that's pretty wild. The probability here is just pretty insane, especially when they're minted in batches. I think it's pretty wild to see. But
Yeah, absolutely.
really excited to get further through the Squiggles. I'm really excited to still have some, but there's actually like this burden of owning them still, and I really just can't wait till they're all minted out, and I'm hoping that they'll all get minted out, by the end of the year or maybe early next year, but we'll see.
Do you have a plan for that you can share with us?
Well, for sure, I have a plan to put 100 of them into a trust for my children that they wouldn't be able to touch for like 15 or 20 years, and that should be fun just as an experiment. Ideally, that's done through some kind of like time lock smart contract, but as I consult with more people, it feels like that could also be scary in the sense of things could change in the protocol that could somehow make them locked permanently or something. So we might revert to using typical lawyers to protect assets in a entity from being touched until the kids are a certain age. And then beyond that, I did have this goal to mint some Squiggles to this DAO and maybe a couple other organizations that have been like super supportive along the way. I have this dream that, and no pressure, obviously, but like that, we'll be able to create a noun style minter, and maybe mint some for charity, some of the last ones for charity. And then the last 10, we have some really special people that are looking at accepting those last 10 as kind of sending off the Squiggle. And again, these are like, we're strapped for resources time wise and stuff, but being able to do some kind of collective sign off for the last 10 Squiggle mints would be really fun. Some kind of multi-sig, I guess, for anyone that wants to record their ETH address as a participant in the mint of the last 10 Squiggles. That's the goal, at least for now. But things move so fast, and I thought by now everything would already be lined up and allocated and ready to go. And here we are, a couple months after the last mint, with still not a clear path where the rest of them go. We have 325 left, 315 after today. Let's say 215 after my kids get that mint to their trust. And I don't know, I might even like mint like 10 to myself. I think that'd be kind of fun. It's been a while since I've done that, but I also already have a lot of Squiggles, so it's probably not necessary.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do want a hyperpipe and a hyperbold, damn it. So I'll yeah.
Oh yeah, you like collecting full sets, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And I am far from this one. With those two, I think that's basically impossible. But you never know.
You never know.
Maybe the famous who dis, who dat will one day reach out and anoint me with a special Squiggle.
Well, Eric, thank you for doing this for us. It really means a lot. We love having your support for the community and what we've been doing. And, this is really the most generous gift you can possibly give us. So it's really appreciated.
I mean, I could not ask for more support from the DAO. And I mean, it's just crazy how you guys have built something in a decentralized way around something I created that, even if I wanted to stop it, I can't stop it. And I think there's something really magical about that. And of course, wanting to continue to support it. That seems like a no-brainer to me. So when you said you were aiming for 300 and y'all were getting close, I was like, shit, let me top y'all up, and get y'all there.
I love
Also,
it.
we haven't seen any minted for a while, so it's been a while. I do have like a list of mints that I've committed to some organizations that I'll probably be minting maybe next week. But this is a nice way to kind of get the gears moving again on the minter.
Do you remember, like, obviously, one of the unique things about the Chromie Squiggle is that it's not fully minted out, and at some point you made a decision to stop that. Do you remember what the incentive was, or what inspired you to say, like, oh, let's hold off on this for a little while?
Uh, well, I look at it as very naive, but because now what I want is to like actually have them all minted out and gone. It's hard to explain the burden of having all of these ready to mint and not being minted out. Obviously, like there's a lot of joy in minting them, but also there's this pressure that they're there. And but at the time, what the goal was with the Squiggles at 10,000 was that they were going to last for a really long time. I didn't really think that people were going to buy them as quickly as they were bought. And so within, I think it was about 5 weeks into opening of the Squiggle Mint and like the launch of Art Blocks, and I think like 5,000 of them had been minted. And I said, I think I want to be able to hold on to some to gift them and give them away over time. So I made the commitment to stop minting at Squiggle number 9,000. And we went a little over. It was like 9,040. There was like a little bit of a run on minting at right around the 9,000 mark. Well, actually, right around the 8,000 mark. I think like 1,000 were minted within a few minutes, and I was busy fixing a project that kind of had a little glitch in it on an early Art Blocks project. So yeah, stopped it at 9040, 9050, something around there, and then started just giving them away from that point. And at the time that it was stopped, I think they were still only worth a couple $100. And I've kind of tweeted about this before. It's really easy to give away a $200 squiggle. It's a lot harder, and I don't know how to explain it. Obviously, there's like weird tax situations too, but it's a lot weirder of a gift when you give someone something that's of such a high value. It's just a very different social dynamic that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And so it was, and I experienced that firsthand. I mean, we were gifting these squiggles even through kind of like the crazy times of 2021, where they were like 30 grand, 40 grand. So, gifting someone a car, at some point, it just kind of crazy. So gifted them for a long time, and then started working with Adam Lindemann with Venus Over Manhattan, who started representing the Squiggle and my work as an art gallery, and thought it'd be really fun to be able to sell some to both our community but also to like his longstanding collectors, and start to kind of expand the reach of the Squiggle beyond our Web3 world. So we sold some through there, and now we're at a point where the rest of them are just going to be given away, unless we do the now style minter and then do some good charity stuff. So we'll see where it goes from there. I've been advised that at this point my charitable contributions are significantly higher than my total income this year, and that there are some really weird tax implications with that, and also it kind of has a tendency to set up some red flags. And so I've been advised to maybe not do a massive amount more charitable stuff this year. But obviously we're doing charity for the month of October, which has been a really great month on the secondary for Squiggles. So really grateful for everyone that's participating in the creator royalty conversation by buying and or selling on platforms that respect creator royalties, because all of those royalties are going to be donated to charity at the end of the month, and it's looking like it's going to be a good month for charity. So yeah, I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's great, man. It's great to hear more about, what you're thinking about, what you're envisioning for the art, and the fact that you're giving back so much is really, I don't know, it's great to hear that.
It's fun. It's cool to be in a position to be able to do it. Honestly, that's really not anything that I could ever have imagined a couple years ago. So, there's a lot of really crazy conversations happening about royalties, and I think that royalties are a cultural norm. I think charity is a cultural norm. You can't force someone to give to charity. I really think you cannot or should not try to force someone to um, pay a royalty. But like, there's this really beautiful thing happening in our space, and I'm just so grateful to like have an opportunity to participate in that way. Who knows what next year is going to be like? Like, who knows, right? So get it all out there as much as possible while I can. And my family's been very supportive of the royalties, going to charity, and like all of the charitable contributions. So it's nice to get to work with my family there, do some good with all the craziness that's happening, and then whatever happens next year happens next year. We'll see.
Cool. Um, any bets on what we're going to mint out today?
I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll be really shocked if we see another. I'd be really shocked if we saw another perfect spectrum. Um, uh, seeing that 21st one last time was just kind of jaw dropping, and beyond that, I guess if we saw a lot of fuzzies, maybe it's time to see a bunch of ribbed. So let's go for some ribbed and see what happens.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Well, why don't we kick it off and then we'll start taking a look at them.
All right, so let me make sure I'm in the right wallet. So these are minted through a multi-sig through Gnosis. So I have a safe in Gnosis, and I have a bunch of really wonderful anonymous people out there that receive the squiggle signal when it's time to sign some transactions. So I want to just give a shout out to them if they're on this Twitter Spaces. Thank you so much. And so then what they do is I initiate the transaction, and then everybody confirms the transaction, and then they uncheck the box that actually triggers the transaction, so that we can then wait to execute the transaction whenever we want. So I just signed the execution transaction, and it has gone through. So I guess we'll see some squiggles here pretty soon.
Amazing.
I don't even know, where are you looking? I guess I could look at the Arblox website.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking. Here we go. Yep, they're not loading yet, but I'm pulling up the first one, which is 9675. Looks like we have a standard squiggle with a pink to green background. It's really nice.
Oh, so it's 9675 all the way to 9684.
Yep.
I see 9683 came up. It's just a very interesting Loch Ness monster looking squiggle with a really flat right side. Oh man, that hyper fuzzy's nuts from the last mint. Oh, also we have a website that's live.artblocks.io, although they're gonna have come back to back, so it probably won't happen in a very aesthetic way. But live.artblocks.io shows the latest mints on Artblocks, which we were just watching the Loey Hallowell drop, which is a pace artist that did a really wonderful piece with commentary on like the human body and stuff. We just saw that drop on Artblocks just about an hour ago, and it was slow at the beginning, and then it just kind of minted out at the end really, really fast. And I had to sign a invoice for someone because we just moved. Oh shit, we have a hyper 9680. Is that yours? I assume so. Hold on. Yep. 9680. All right. Woo.
Uh-oh.
Something to look forward to there. That just came through the Artblocks.
Oh wow, we've got some really nice pieces here. So I told the DAO that if we minted a hyper, I was going to get a tattoo. So I'm getting.
Oh no! Oh shit! That's crazy, man. Well, I couldn't have planned that any better. I wish somehow I could have like forced that. But hey, that happened. That's cool. We did get a couple ribbed. The dark ribs, which I really, really like the dark ribs, and then we have a light rib too.
Yeah,
And then
9676 and 78 and 82 are all really nice, especially 9678. That one's really nice. I wish we could show them on Twitter Spaces. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that has to happen at some point. That's 9681 is pretty cool too. It's got some really big ups and downs. Yay! All right, we got something more of a prize for the DAO, and then a bunch of other squiggles for the collection. So is this officially 300? I guess at this point, like in the same wallet.
This is officially 300 in the vault now.
Wow. Okay, 1/400.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding. And where do you say this puts you in terms of squiggle holders?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Where does this put y'all in terms of squiggle holders? In the
I believe we're the top 4 collection now. I'm not sure what the top 3 wallet is holding yet, but we'll
top 3 is 367.
Okay. That one's me. That's my wallet, I think.
Okay.
So you can
so too.
Count mine out so that you don't have to worry about like the rankings for mine. That's cool.
Then next one is 413. That's the second biggest, and the biggest is 1006.
Yes, that mysterious wallet.
Should we go quickly over each one, because I think there are a couple that are interesting.
Okay. For example, yeah, please.
9675. It's like a regular floor, but something that I like is that it has 12 segments. And for the audience, segments and color spread, in my opinion, are 2 of the main characteristics of a squiggle. Segments goes from 12 to 20. Those with 12 segments, the lowest number of segments are shorter and, in my opinion, look cleaner. And those with 20 segments are longer and look more complex and interesting. So that's a pretty special one. And I like the ones with 12 because they look pretty clean and also ending in green. I guess the optimistic in me likes stories that end in green. So
I love that. All right.
I like this one. Then 76 is looking like a harmonic, but I'm not sure. I have to check the rib color, and still not refreshing the source that I'm using to check the rib color, but it might be a harmonic. So I'm hesitating.
Which one is that one? 76?
76, yeah.
Let me see.
Nifty, what's a harmonic for the audience?
So a harmonic is where the rib color, the thing that is surrounding the squiggle, it's matching one of the preset background colors for the squiggle. Everyone knows that if you click on the spacebar, you can change the background color. It starts in pure white, color 0, and it increases in increments of 25 until black, which is 255. So it's every 25 with the exception of 250, which jumps to 255.
Cool.
Wow. If that's not a harmonic, it's really close because I just did the spacebar thing.
Yeah.
It looks very, very, very close.
Yeah, I'm hesitating to say if it's a real harmonic or not, but we are really close in this one. And this is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, these are really nice. Wow.
9677. I was checking if this was 20 segments. It's 17 segments, and you can see the difference compared to 75, that this is much more like longer, complex squiggle compared to a 12 segment. So you can see visually it's pretty obvious the difference in segments, which is, as we were saying before, the length of the squiggle. Nothing else so far. Yeah.
Fun fact, also, I think this is fun to share. Hugh from Artblocks, he's our COO. We had to sign a lease for something, and he sent me a DocuSign, and his signature was a squiggle. And so I uploaded a squiggle of mine as well. And, obviously this is an internal kind of document, so it's a little bit less intense. But, I mean, the reality is if you have that squiggle, you are the only one that can prove that you have that signature. It feels like that should be a legitimate way to sign or be able to sign. So, yeah, let's see DocuSigns with squiggles more often. I mean, now that squiggle signature is uploaded to my DocuSign, I guess any document sent my way, I'm going to at least test the waters and try it. And if they send it back to me and tell me to send it back with a regular signature, I will. But
I love that. I'm looking forward to the next time I have to sign something now.
all right,
exactly.
cool. Sign it with a squiggle and share it.
9678, again, a super nice rip. And I don't think this one is a harmonic, but
No,
we are not that far. Yeah, pretty cool. I love those rips where you can see the color and the color changes, and you can see like almost the full spectrum of colors within the rips. Those are super nice.
I've always appreciated that too, actually. There's a couple out there that are very specifically segmented like that. They also would probably embroider much better. We've been, my dear wife has gone through so many different embroidery companies to try to figure out what it looks like to embroider a squiggle, and it's such a mess. And so, anything that's segmented like that really makes it a lot easier for embroidery. So that might be a good one for a hat.
And something interesting for the audience that maybe not everyone knows, we Squiggle freaks know that rips were not called rips at the beginning or even in the code, right?
They were called segmented.
Yeah.
But then because there was also segments, it got confusing on the traits listing. And so I think it was a community member, Raster Eyes, that I threw it out there. I said, "Hey, what do y'all think we should call it?" And he said "ribbed," and I was like, "All right, cool, let's do it."
That's cool.
Maybe that would be a good trivia question. Well, no, I told everybody. So for the future, Raster is was very involved in the early days of Squiggles.
9679 looks normal to me. 17
Kind of looks like a
again.
heartbeat.
Yeah. On the longer side as well. Pretty cool.
Yay.
We get to the Hyper 9680. I can't believe that we are so lucky. So by probability, we were doing the numbers. And if you just take what's already out there and apply the probability to the 10 new mints, we were expecting to get 6 normals, 1 slinky, 1 fuzzy, 1 rip, and maybe 1 bolt. And it's crazy that we got another Hyper. So I
but
think
no
the stars
bolt
are aligning.
And no slinkies. That's interesting because the slinky is the most common type after the normal. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Squiggle gods love SquiggleDAO.
And how many? So now there's 127 hyper rainbows.
Yeah.
Total. Wow. Cool.
9681. I think it's beautiful. 200 and this has a lot of colors, as we were saying. The color hues in a squiggle are going to be depending on the segments, the steps, and the color spread. And as we were saying, segments and color spread are the key drivers because the steps are type dependent. So a slinky and a pipe will have 50 steps. A normal rip and bolt will have 200, and a fuzzy will have 1,000. So always fuzzies are going to be more colorful. Slinkies and pipes always more monochromatic, although there is a range depending on the segments and the color spread. And for hypers, interesting thing is that they will have same segments, same steps, same everything, because they could be a hyper slinky will have 50 steps or whatever number of segments. The only difference for a hyper will be the color spread. Color spread for normals goes from 5 to 50, and for hypers is 0.5. And we like to understand the color spread as the distance between the colors. So the smaller the distance, the more rapidly the color changes. So
right.
A hyper
so if you are going to go from one color to the next, let's say it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you divide it by 0.5, then you just went by 1, 2, or 1, 4, 8. You just doubled the intensity at which you go from one color to the next, and then vice versa. If the spread is 10, you go from 1 to 2. It actually goes from 1 to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So that's kind of how spread works. And spread's something that I assume just a very simple concept, but something that's found its way into my generative or just kind of programmatic art since the very, very beginning. I feel like maybe what got me excited about generative art was the discovery of the concept of the color spread and how granularly you could control it along the line. And something that I think I don't know if anyone's ever noticed how like the yellow and the orange are so short in the color spectrum, and this is just like light theory and color theory. And something I've experimented over time is how to expand those sections so that they are a little bit more evenly, like the same length as, for example, like a red or a green or a blue spectrum. And the results have never been quite where I'd want them to be. So I've actually always just let the colors be the colors the way that the color spectrum puts things together. But it's really fascinating if you get into understanding like the color theory of why the yellow and the orange spectrums are so much shorter than the rest of them. It's pretty cool stuff.
Super interesting. Yeah. And to finish with this one, it's on the longer side. So the more segments, the more colors are going to fit. And this is 18 and the maximum is 20. So on the longer side of the possibilities, and color spread is almost the maximum for a normal squiggle is 6, while the maximum color spread to give you the maximum colorful in a squiggle is 5. So this is crazy colorful squiggle.
Super colorful, yeah.
Yeah. 9682, another very nice rib. And I always like to put a name to the ribs that end with the flashlight, or I've seen many names, and there is a clear difference. Those with end with the dot visible, the ending color visible, and those that the ending color is hidden. And I think we should put a name for those.
I think so far I've often referred to them as open terminal and closed terminal, and that was something that somebody in the community came up with as well. But that was that's kind of how I've always.
Let's go with that. I like that.
Cool.
I love that. Let me check the metadata. Yeah, a pretty nice one. 9683. Segments 15. So midway in terms of segments, and color spread 26. So we are talking about halfway in both of colorful and in terms of length. 9684, a very nice fuzzy. And these types of, we would categorize this as an M probably, because we have some special categories where you can see an M, we have Ns. So we will be releasing pretty shortly all the data that we have been collecting and researching for the last 12, 15 months. But a little sneak peek is that we would include this as an M squiggle.
It's absolutely insane hearing you say things like that, like the research and stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah, thanks.
Eric, what do you think about, obviously some of the traits of the squiggle were pre-designed, they're in the code, and some of them have emerged subsequently as, observation, like full spectrum, perfect spectrum, the segment ending that you referred to before. How do you treat those in terms of significance from your perspective?
Well, man, this space, it can be so speculative, and so it's scary to even kind of change things that are already in place. But for example, full spectrum and perfect spectrum is something that I always was drawn to and identified with, but didn't make it into the code. A, because I kind of was rushing, and B, because I didn't really fully understand how it was going to materialize when you saw a ton of them out there, or if there was even going to be that many of them. That was actually a community member that really kind of started doing the grind of doing the math and trying to figure out how to do this algorithmically to go backwards and figure out what the trait is. I really wanted to put the harmonic trait as a formal trait. But when things started kind of getting crazy with prices, it started to feel like making a modification was less. It just made me feel a little bit more uncomfortable. I've always kind of been drawn to how the CryptoPunks, the Larva Labs added the number of traits to CryptoPunks later. And they did that actually as a result of people starting to collect that, on their own. There was a lot of things. For example, I came with a collector mentality, but I did not in any world did I think that a zero trait punk would ever be considered more valuable than anything else. It just didn't dawn on me. That concept didn't dawn on me. And obviously people started identifying the zero trait punks and getting really excited about them. And all of a sudden, people were spending a ton of money on them. And Larva Labs later came back and recognized that trait formally on their website. None of this is on chain, right? The recognition of the traits. Well, I guess Larva Labs has eventually put stuff like traits on chain. and art blocks will eventually find ways of integrating these trait scripts on chain as well. But a lot of that isn't on chain, and simply recognizing that on a Web2 interface, like a regular website, it just seems to be it seems to be something that's really interesting, but also something that can cause a little bit of additional speculation and FOMO. And I'm always trying to limit that as much as possible. Long term, especially once like there's a little bit of homeostasis in the space, maybe like 5 years down the road, I don't know. It would be really nice to maybe poll the community and see what it would look like to do that. I think that there was a time last year where if we would have added new traits like harmonics, not only does that kind of open up a can of worms, because we now have over 300 artworks on art blocks, and like the last thing we want to do is try to open up that can of worms and all of a sudden everybody changes their algorithms. But that's also, I think, a really interesting value add for communities like SquiggleDAO, especially as you guys build out a more thorough website and a different browsing experience. I mean, having a draw to come and browse Squiggles on your website with all these additional, I mean, the value add of a harmonic is clear. People have paid more for harmonics than for regular ribbed, and I think being able to demonstrate that on the website that is such a huge support for SquiggleDAO, I think is 95% as effective as recognizing it on art blocks proper. So I think there's an opportunity here for communities to be built around these emerging traits. I love the camel. I thought was like a really good one. I love identifying letters. There's a clear W and a clear M here. There's one actually that is going to be auctioned for the Herbert Franke Foundation that looks like a crane. And actually, it was a fuzzy that I minted for someone that it didn't really work out. So I ended up with it on a steel plate, and I ended up keeping it because I thought it was such a cool squiggle, and I was going to have a good home for it in the future. And it's going to, I think, a really good cause for the Herbert Franke mint. So, I think being able to identify some of these traits is really cool. And I think that the DAO taking the charge there, to me, feels a lot better and a lot cooler than going back and modifying that data on the Artblocks website. And I'm curious kind of how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think it's a celebratory event. It's people looking for all the nuances and the patterns and the art, and I envision people like browsing through the whole collection and finding patterns that they think are interesting that then become relevant, and then there's stories to tell around them, and the ghost squiggle and the up only squiggle, and it's like a lot of those kind of micro stories or like memes around the art are what allow it to propagate more. And I think that's really, from a cultural perspective, really interesting. If it was more of a speculative tool, I would argue that maybe not. But for just celebrating the differences and the nuances in the squiggle, we've been thinking about this a lot because with CryptoPunk, the attributes are pretty obvious. Like, oh, it's got a hat, it has an earring, it has a beard. With the squiggle, a lot of them can be more nuanced, and I think highlighting them and celebrating them allows people to understand and discover more about this squiggly line that everyone's excited about.
I agree. Well, I can't wait to see what you guys do and integrate on your website. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and you guys have a lot of fun stuff coming up too. So, all good, yep. All good things.
Yeah. Well, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. There's so many people on this spaces. It's so humbling, really, to be here. And I see a lot of squiggle PFPs. I mean, it's just, yeah, this life is crazy. It's kind of really hard to explain, and I'm just super grateful for this opportunity. Grateful for all the support that the DAO provides, not just for Squiggle, but also just kind of for onboarding people into DAOs. It's probably one of the easier most accessible ways to kind of participate in a DAO or to enter a DAO in this space. And really, really flattered, honored, excited, proud, all the things to be here.
Well, thank you so much, dude. We appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I can't wait to show you what else we've been working on. There's a lot of things in play, and Nifty's been, exploring some of these new subtrait possibilities and is just chomping at the bit to let them out. So hopefully we'll be doing that fairly soon. And there's some really interesting ones out there. So
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Let me know how I can support that.
of course.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, thank you
Well,
guys so much.
yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Awesome. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday.
You
Thank you so
too.
much, Eric.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.